Every time there's a development in the licensing landscape, it's heralded as the end of open source.
Heather thinks about software.
If you think about it, all of the prophecies of the end of the world have been wrong. As we say in the legal world, res ipsa loquitur, the thing speaks for itself. We're still around to hear the prophecies of doom, so they didn't come true. At the end of days, there will be no one around to say, I told you so. I'm not sure what it is about our culture, or humans in general, that they love predictions of doom so much. We are swimming in a sea of apocalyptic fiction. I mean, it's even a genre unto itself by now. And don't forget the doomsday cults that crop up when the year reaches 1666 or 2000 or just some random date that a cult has latched onto. The main point is that none of the harbingers of doom are ever held to account. The same is true for open source. I can't remember the number of times I've read an article or a posting formerly known as a tweet proclaiming that open source is dead. The doom pronouncements all seem to come after incremental changes in licensing landscape or some other thing, usually fairly minor. At least some of them are rhetorical devices. As a consumer of news media, you should always keep in mind Betteridge's law. Any headline that ends in a question mark can be answered by the word no. Keep that in mind as we take a trip down memory lane. Here are some of the cataclysmic or just routine events that cause these kinds of predictions. 2004, Mozilla lays off staff. Open source is dead. 2008, more layoffs at Mozilla. Funeral service for free and open source software. 2018, Commons Clause will destroy open source software. 2018, Elasticsearch license changes. Are open source databases dead? 2021, the University of Minnesota researchers develop a method for introducing what they call hypocrite comments to the Linux kernel. By the way, they were banned from contributing after that. The end of open source? Use of ethical licenses. Open source is dead. Long live ethical source. The rise of the cloud. The cloud is killing open source. I have to say that writing that kind of article in 2022 is a little behind the times. 2022, Red Hat changes CentOS. Is open source dying out? 2023, something about GitHub and Copilot. Are we witnessing the end of open source? 2023, the rise of SaaS and license changes. Is open source software dead? These are just articles I found on one Google search. All of them are wrong, of course. So never fear. To paraphrase Mark Twain, rumors of the death of open source are greatly exaggerated. Those of us who deal with open source in the trenches know that it's here to stay. License changes and other events on specific projects don't even make a dent in the spectacular success of open source. But it is weird that so many journalists, or amateur journalists, seem to want to pronounce it dead. You'd think they were in open source's last will and testament or something. Or maybe there's a more mundane phenomenon at work. You know, there's a stage in a child's development when the child learns the difference between itself and the rest of the world. It's called Piaget's concrete operational stage, and it usually takes place from 7 to 11 years of age. Maybe some of these writers think, well, it's the end of open source for me, so it must be the end for everyone. In fact, licensing changes usually get absorbed by the community. If an open source community doesn't like a licensing change or a change in ownership of a project, it can simply fork the software and go on its merry way. That's what happened in the case of Amazon's OpenSearch, forked from Elastic, MariaDB, forked from MySQL, Temurin, forked from Java, or OpenTofu, forked from Terraform, or Rocky Linux, forked from CentOS. While an unpopular license change could be the end of a project, it's not the end of all open source licensing. Now, nothing lasts forever. So, what will be the end of open source? I think the end of open source will be the end of software. You know, that could happen. If you take the long view, lots of technologies seem to last for about a century. If so, then programmable software itself may only last until about 2050. Feel free to hold me to that prediction, but I may be long gone by that time. What will be the end of software? No-code tools, deep learning, quantum computing, perhaps? We don't know. But one thing is clear. None of the harbingers of doom has any idea either. So, long live open source. Liking and subscribing makes me think more.
Heather thinks about software.